Joe Comm's an internet pioneer, thank you, Ernesto, and has been building profitable online businesses since 1995. And as a New York Times best-selling author, he's written 6 books with 12 foreign language translations and over 40 ebooks. And Joel is a very in-demand international speaker who equips and motivates his audiences with money-making strategies, practical advice, and some really great marketing tips. And today, he's going to be sharing with you how to become a leading, recognized expert in your field. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Joel Comm.
Wow. Hey, thank you so much. I am so glad to be here. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Ernesto, for the wonderful introduction. Fantastic. Well, I want to say hello in so many different languages because it is such a privilege to greet people from, I believe, 73 countries is what I was told are joining us today. And, of course, for many of you in the Middle East, I say salam, and I'm just so honored and privileged to be able to join you from all the way on the other side of the world. I still marvel at how amazing technology is that we can instantly connect with people that are miles, thousands of miles away from us. So hello, and I want to share some things with you today. I'm really excited about it. Now, what I don't have for you is anything to buy. I'm not here to sell anything. When Ernesto asked me if I would participate in this today, I thought, absolutely, what a great opportunity. And I also don't have a flashy presentation. You're not going to see all kinds of colorful slides and fun transitions because I want to get right to the meat of the content, and I want to make it as plain and obvious what I'm sharing with you today as possible. And so here's what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you the one thing that you can do to gain massive credibility virtually overnight. And it is the one thing in my career out of all the things that I've done that I would attribute with the greatest impact. I'm going to show you how a different kind of business card can get you attention unlike any other card that you've used before, and I'm going to show you where most of the experts are missing out and how this one action you can take can make you more popular and give you more credibility than them. I hope you're excited by it. Here we go. I've been online for a few years. In fact, this was my very first computer. For those that don't recognize it, in the United States we have a company called Radio Shack, and this was a Tandy TRS-80 Model 1 computer, and it had 4K of RAM in it. Not 4 meg, not 4 gig, 4K of RAM. And this was the modem that I initially used to dial in to bulletin board services before we had the internet to dial into and the web. Before we had the regular online services, we had bulletin board services, and in 1979, I was dialing in. So I'm not sure if that makes me the person who's been online longest amongst this group of speakers or not, but if you do the math, that is online for almost 35 years now, and I guess I've just dated myself, and you have an idea how old I am. I want to give you a really brief history of me so you understand the context of which I'm coming from. I built my first website in 1995, and in that year, there were only 18,000 websites in the whole world. I licensed content on my website to a Japanese multimedia firm in 1996, so it was one of the first licensing deals that was done on the web. I sold one of my sites, a game site, multiplayer gaming, to a little site known as Yahoo, and of course at that time they were the biggest site on the web in 1998, and that was my first $1 million deal. I created one of the first deal sites in 1999, and of course we know deal sites such as Groupon and Living Social are some of the biggest deal sites now. I have since sold that site. I solved the Google AdSense code in 2004, and we're going to talk a little bit about what happened as a result of that. I have a best-selling ebook on Google AdSense that came out in 2005, and it positioned me as the definitive expert on Google AdSense, and as a result of that I published a traditional book called The AdSense Code, which became a New York Times bestseller. In 2007, I created the world's first competitive internet reality show, The Next Internet Millionaire. I developed a #1 best-selling iPhone app. It was #1 in the world in the iTunes App Store almost 5 years ago. I believe it was December 19th, 2008, that we hit #1 and stayed there for 3 weeks. And I had a best-selling WordPress theme for marketers in the Socrates theme in 2009. And what you could see here is that I've got a history of having a lot of firsts. I'm very fortunate because I'm probably not as smart as people think I am. I just like to play with all the different toys and the websites and the technologies, and I like to try things. As entrepreneurs, it's important that we test and we try new things. But out of all of these things that I've shared with you here, there is one of them that has had an incredible impact, and that's what I'm getting ready to share with you. If you Bing me or Google me, you'll find that there's just a few pages that talk about me. This time there was 1 million or so, and I have my own Wikipedia page, which also helps to add a great deal of credibility. Now, everybody's used business cards at some point in their career, and business cards are very useful, but as I heard Davin reference in a previous talk, business cards can get lost, misplaced, never really used, and because they're so common, they are business as usual. There's some people distributing business cards, most of which will get thrown out in the long run. However, the business card that I have found to produce the most credibility for me is a book. And that's because books instantly provide authority. Almost all of us grew up either going to a library or using books in school or having our parents read to us. There's something about a book that provides unique authority. There's something about a book that provides unique credibility because it says, wow, this person knows their stuff so well that it's now in a printed form. And books provide status. We look up to people that have written words in the printed form. Now, certainly, ebooks are one way to get your content out there, and I'm a big fan of ebooks. In fact, it was my Google AdSense ebook that in 2005 became a bestseller and launched my career as an AdSense expert. As a result of that, I did a 2nd edition, a 3rd edition, a 4th edition, a 5th edition, and I've got a 6th edition coming out shortly in 2014. But a printed book can afford you credibility and authority unlike any other. In fact, when I took the content from the 3rd edition of my AdSense Secrets ebook, which sold for $97, and put it into a printed book called the AdSense Code and sold it for $19.95, the book hit the New York Times bestseller list, was #6 in the business category, and it changed my life. In fact, more than any other thing I've done, having this printed book led to so many different things. And I'm going to list for you shortly the different ways that you are able to leverage your book. But first, I want to talk about a variety of the types of books that came out. Because of my success in the internet marketing realm, I had the opportunity to do interviews with some of the leaders in the space, including Rich Schefren, Perry Marshall, Yannick Silver, Jeff Walker, John Reese, Alex Mondosian, Armin Morin, and Mark Joyner. These are all legends of internet marketing. And I thought it was important to tell their story. Now, this is going to be important to you because you have a story to tell as well. But I chose to write a book called Click Here to Order, Stories of the World's Most Successful Internet Marketing Entrepreneurs. And this was a big hit, especially in the internet marketing space. When you focus on others and tell their story, others want to share their story. So over the years, I've also gotten into social media, and you could see a little bit about my clout and how many people are following me. And as a result of dabbling in social media, I was asked to write a book called Twitter Power, How to Dominate Your Market One Tweet at a Time. This led to a number of multiple translations: Portuguese, Korean, Japanese, Chinese, Italian, and you'll notice that I had the foreword written by peak performance strategist Tony Robbins. I'm sure you've heard of Tony Robbins. He's known all around the world, and by having him write my foreword, it gave me additional credibility, which helped Twitter Power to become the best-selling book on Twitter for business in the world. Following that, I wrote another book called Ka-Ching, how to run an online business that pays and pays. You're probably starting to get the picture that I think books are really, really important. And my most recent project was called So What Do You Do? Discovering the Genius Next Door with One Simple Question. And in this book, I featured 46 co-authors who leveraged and were able to use my credibility to take their career to the next level. Now, I say all that to get to the point about your book. If you have not yet written a physically printed book, I know you have one in you, and I know that you have a message that you want to share with the world. And the way you determine what that is by asking yourself these questions, and you might want to write these down. First of all, what is your passion? What is the thing that you burn to do, that you so desire to do, that is so important to you that even if you weren't getting paid to do it, you would enjoy doing it? That's really critical and essential to knowing what your book would be about. What talents do you have? And by these talents, I mean the natural talents. Some of us are good at sports, some are good at singing and dancing, some are really good with technology, some are really good with design. What are your specific talents that are unique to you? Many times you're born with those talents. What kind of skills have you acquired over the years? Perhaps you got specific training to be a podcaster or a speaker or a graphic designer or a programmer. Whatever your profession is, these are skills that you've acquired over the years, and you now have the capability to bring value to others through those skills. You also have the ability to bring value through abilities that you have honed, your talents, your skills, your abilities, and your personality. All of these work together to make you incredibly unique, and they provide a platform for you to be able to impact the world around you with your message. I believe that everybody has a book in them. And if you've done an ebook, that's great. That's a really great start. But there's something about having that physically printed book that can make all the difference. And here's the things that having that book can lead to for you. And I'm going to demonstrate where they can lead by showing how it's worked in my life. For example, a book can lead to increased visibility. This is me at a Book Expo America in New York City. Because of the book Twitter Power, I was asked to come by John Wiley & Sons, a major publisher, to have a booth where people would line up to talk to me and where I would autograph books. When you have a book, it allows you the opportunity to be in front of the people who are going to read what you have to say, who you'll be able to impact, and then who will tell others about you and your message. A book can also lead to more credibility. So I already talked about Twitter Power 2.0, and by writing this book and putting it out with the foreword by Anthony Robbins, all of a sudden I was pursued as a social media expert. People wanted to know what I had to say about Twitter, and not just about Twitter, about Facebook, Google+, YouTube, LinkedIn, and all the other social sites. And look what happens as a result of publishing a book that can get a Wikipedia page, which lends you even more credibility. Now, a Wikipedia page is very difficult to get. You have to have done something notable. And in this case, having the book on Twitter, which became a bestseller, was a notable effort. So not only do I have a personal Wikipedia page, but I have one for Twitter Power. And because the AdSense Code was a New York Times bestseller, this also led to a Wikipedia page. I hope you see how having this printed book can increase your credibility. Well, what else can the book do? It can lead to radio, TV, and podcast expert interviews. I honestly couldn't even begin to count the number of interviews that I have done. The podcasting world, most recently, I was invited to Entrepreneur on Fire with John Lee Dumas and Smart Passive Income Podcast with Pat Flynn, two of the most popular business podcasts on iTunes. And on top of that, I've done multiple radio and television interviews, which of course also increase your credibility. There's me on MSNBC and Fox News. Both of these interviews were a result of my book, Twitter power. If you do an ebook, you're not very likely to get invited to be on television or radio. Happens sometimes, but they're really looking for authors who are published in a traditionally published book. A book can also lead to guest blogging opportunities, where other popular sites will ask you to write an article for their site. So now you're getting credibility from them. Most recently, I have written a couple articles for Salesforce, one of the most popular CRM tools. Salesforce started opening up their blog to outside experts, and this article was just published a few days ago on the Salesforce blog, Why Social Commerce is the Future, and you can see just already how many tweets and likes there were just by being on another popular blog site. So a book leads to increased visibility, more credibility, radio, TV, and podcast interviews, guest blogging, and one of my favorite things, being a published author leads to speaking engagements. I did a number of speaking engagements before I had my book, but once the book became available, all of a sudden I was asked to do keynotes all over the world and webinars and teleseminars like this as well. I love speaking more than just about anything, and being able to be in a room with people who are eager to learn, who don't mind my carefree style, because I like to play and have a good time as I'm speaking, has led me all over our nation here and around the world to be able to share my passion, my talents, my skills, my abilities, and my personality with others. That would not have been possible had I not written that physically published book. A book can also lead to consulting, and there's some really big money in consulting. In fact, I have a number of consulting clients that pay me 5 figures a year in order to spend just a couple hours a month with me on the phone or in a Google Hangout, because I have a knack for marketing and am able to help them with their business. Because I've got that traditionally published book, they see it as credibility that I know what it is that I'm doing and what I'm talking about. This allows me to charge $500 or more per hour for all my consultations. So you'll find when you have this book, which I believe is your best business card, you'll be able to charge more and bring more value to the people around you. By the way, one of the things that I tell most of my consulting clients to do is, guess what? Write a book and get it published, and I'm able to help them to do that as well. The book can also lead, amongst all these other things, to joint venture opportunities, because when you're a published author, you attract people that want to work with you. Early on, after I published my first book, I attracted joint venture with a marketer named Eric Homeland. Eric is a fantastic marketer, lives in Colorado, not too far from me, and we created a product called Instant AdSense Templates. And this was just a $197 product, but through that joint venture, which leveraged my credibility from having a published book, we sold over $1 million in templates to help people build their sites in just 5 days. As a result of that, Eric and I created the world's first competitive internet reality show, The Next Internet Millionaire. There's been dozens of other joint ventures that have come after these, but all in all, these partnerships have been worth millions of dollars to me, all because I wrote a book. So to review your book, and I hope you've written these down because these will inspire you to take the next step. Your book can lead to increased visibility, more credibility, radio and TV expert interviews, guest blogging opportunities, speaking engagements, consulting, joint venture opportunities, and more. There's other creative ways that you'll discover that your book can be leveraged, and I hope that I have made the case really transparently, honestly, and powerfully to you for why writing your book is so important. And in fact, my gift to you will surprise. It's a book. In fact, what I've got for you is a digital PDF version of my New York Times best-selling book, The AdSense Code. It's the definitive guide to making money with Google AdSense. And if you'll go to MiddleEastInternetSummit.com/Joel, you'll be able to vote for me. I hope that you'll vote for me there. Would love it if you gave me 5 stars. I hope this has been valuable for you. I've certainly enjoyed sharing this with you. MiddleEastInternetSummit.com/Joel. You'll be able to secure your own copy of my New York Times bestseller, The AdSense Code. And you can find me online at joelcomm.com. On Twitter, I'm at joelcomm. I'm the only person in the world with this name, so I'm the easiest guy in the world to find. Thank you all for listening, for your time, and thank you, Ernesto and Dave.